Okay, so good evening, everybody, and you're very welcome to the 2026 SCoTENS Research webinar. My name is Julia Kustela, and as Southern Co-Chair of SCoTENS, I'm delighted to welcome you to our evening, where we are going to be listening to a number of research projects, hearing about the SCoTENS seed funding programme, and also celebrating excellence in research. Um, you're going to be with us for just over an hour. I think we're scheduled for an hour and a quarter. And there will be three different sections to our evening. The first is where we will hear from four previous recipients of the SCoTENS seed funding. And we're going to hear their experience of receiving funding and hear a little bit about their projects. And the second section we'll move to is a very exciting one and something we always look forward to every year. And that's the presentation of the John Coulahan Award. And my colleague on the SCoTENS committee, Professor Noel Purdy, will introduce that section. And then as we come near the end of the evening, we will have a seed funding question and answer session, because I know there will be people who are joining us this evening or those who are watching back on the recording who will be interested in applying for seed funding. And we're conscious it may be your first time applying for seed funding, or maybe it's been a few years since you've applied for seed funding. So we're really keen to answer any questions you have and to give you an overview of the seed funding process. And then we will bring the evening to a close just after 8 o'clock, about 8:15. And my SCoTENS co-chair, Dr. Pamela Cowan, will bring proceedings to a close. So just before I hand over to Dr. Lorraine Harbison, who's going to lead the first session, I just wanted to share one thing with you that brings us back to last year's research webinar, and I was listening back to it during the week. And one of the terms that was described in last year's research webinar was the notion of professional friendship. And I thought it was a lovely idea for us to have in our minds as we enter into this sharing of experiences this evening. And I did a little bit of searching to see if I could get some definitions of professional friendships. And it was lovely to find that a definition of a professional friendship is one that's based on mutual respect and a commitment to a shared goal. And I think that really sums up SCoTENS as a professional learning network, that notion of mutual respect and our shared goals. So I think that is something that we can keep to the back of our mind as we're listening to so many wonderful exemplars of SCoTENS research this evening. So I hope you enjoy the evening. And again, thank you to all of our panelists for joining us and for all of the preparation by the SCoTENS committee and the Centre for Cross-Border Studies that has gone into this evening's schedule. I'm now going to hand over to Dr. Lorraine Harbison, who will introduce the first session this evening.
Thanks very much, Julie. This is always like a really wonderful part of the NICE and a very inspiring part of the NICE. So when they talk about professional friendships, that's what we're going to showcase. So we have four different projects that we're going to showcase tonight, and we have presenters from those particular universities to kind of talk about those projects and maybe what they kind of gained professionally from us. And also to give a bit of advice to anybody here who's considering maybe that they might have a little idea that they would like to progress forward, possibly for some seed funding from SCoTENS. And just kind of to flag that these reports are actually all available on our SCoTENS website. But we all like to, be able to put kind of a face to some of those names we see and to get a bit of an insight into the background to those reports. So to kickstart this evening, and it's in no particular order, it's actually just maybe the order that emails came back in and we just start filling in the slots. So just to begin, we have two speakers from this particular project. We have Dr. Camelia Nadia Bran from the University College Cork and Dr. Donna Hazard from St. Mary's University College Belfast, so representative North and South. And their project was called ICARA, Exploring Knowledge and Awareness of Reasonable Accommodations, Adjustments for ITE Students with Disabilities in both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. So I leave us over to the two of you, Camelia and Donna, to take it from here.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm honored to be here tonight. Together with my colleague, Dr. Donna Hazard, we will be presenting few findings from our project shortly called ICARA. Can you see the presentation?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. We implemented this project together with our dear colleagues from UCC, Dr. Craig Neville, specialized in language teaching and multilingualism, Dr. Gemma Campion, specialized in social justice and inclusion, and Ms. Kirsten Hurley. I've been encouraged to apply for this project by dear Professor Kathy Hall and further supported by our head of school, Professor Nicola Ingram. Together with Dr. Donna Hazard and the team from St. Mary's, I think we developed this type of very beautiful professional friendship. Donna, would you please introduce your team members?
Yes, well, Camilla contacted me in the first instance, and I was very lucky to recruit two colleagues. Mr. Joe Hughes. Joe is a specialist in technology and design, and Dr. Claire Connolly. Claire is she's now retired. Lucky Claire. Claire was head of schools and also a music specialist.
Okay, thank you, Donna. We approach this project through the lens of human rights, being aware that student teachers with disabilities in placement settings should enjoy their experience in accordance with the recommendation of the United Nations Charters of the Rights of the Person with Disabilities. The project aimed to assess the knowledge and understanding of reasonable accommodation for student teachers with disabilities in placement settings. And for this purpose, we targeted and involved in the project IT lecturers, placement coordinators, support staff from Access offices, cooperating teachers, and IT students. We did a scoping literature review to identify the gaps in the literature, and then we designed a mixed method research that included a comprehensive survey, and we gave the students a voice by creating workshops where they have proposed and created vignettes, so short cases depicting their challenges in placement settings. And we used those vignettes as pretext for facilitating discussions within focus groups with cooperating teachers and IT lecturers. We use the results and the findings from the survey, from the vignettes, and from the focus group to inform the creation of the toolkit, which can be downloaded from the SCoTENS website. And we think this toolkit is very useful because it includes activities that incorporates the vignettes. You can see the 12 vignettes there, and we proposed 12 activities that can be done together with our stakeholders, IT lecturers, support staff, cooperating teachers, to discuss about the challenges of the student teachers with disabilities in placement settings, concerns we might have about fitness to practice, and mainly to discuss how we can better accommodate those students. So please test the toolkit and send us feedback. Donna, if you want to continue with what we've gained, thank you.
So what we've gained, well, I think in the first instance, certainly heightened awareness of the real experience of students who are living with disabilities, particularly on during placement settings, and often, the hidden nature of the need. The fact that many students are reluctant for various reasons, to disclose that they have a disability. So this awareness led to, a lot of kind of nuance and empathy in terms of our own practice and understanding. And very closely linked to that, reflexivity. We began to really question our own assumptions about disability and competence in teaching, and that kind of tension between reasonable accommodation and fitness to practice. And also, not just about inclusion, but also questioning how we as individuals are implicated in this dynamic, both individually within our various disciplines, which were various and are various, and also institutionally and systemically. And I think finally, and this is kind of broader and more generic, is a sustained partnership, that lovely idea of professional friendship that has evolved from this. And that really enriched the research and the whole research experience. We have gone on to write further papers and present at other conferences. We have some coming up in the near future. And we've also put in another submission to SCoTENS for a completely different project. So again, that sense of, collaboration has been really strong, very powerful and very enjoyable.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. And analyzing a bit the findings from the data collection tool we used, we understood, especially from the vignettes created by the students, that the students face very complex intersectional challenge that we didn't anticipate, because they are often hidden due to the fear of disclosure. And we've seen by talking with cooperating teachers and lecturers that accommodations are made both formally through access department, but mainly informally, because all the participants, the lecturers, they are willing to support students, and they are imprinted with a high equity sense, and they want to make all students to succeed in their journey in teacher education. And we were really impressed by the level of effort put by different lecturers or placement coordinators to really support and accommodate the students. And we've learned that rather than having individual battles, it's necessary to move towards more systemic interventions to find out how to create integrated approaches to reasonable accommodation among different ITE stakeholders, how to better cooperate universities with placement settings, with access departments, to have an integrated 360 view on how to support the students, because right now the actions are more individually based on good willing, without integration between the departments and the stakeholders. And I think there is a need at the level of the entire society to discuss about what the ideal teacher looks like in Irish society. What's fitness to practice, what's the portrait of an ideal teacher, and we need to discuss more about the inclusive education and the rights of the student teacher with disabilities. Few thoughts about what new applicants might do to have a successful applications. This will be shared by Donna. Thank you.
I think for anybody thinking about, submitting a SCoTENS application, I think the very first thing to ask yourself is, why does cross-border collaboration matter? Because a lot of projects, a lot of research we could do in our own jurisdictions, but I think the key question is, how will a joint shared context, shared data, shared professionalism, shared knowledge, and so on, how is that actually going to enhance this research project? So I think that's a key to having a really good or making a good SCoTENS application. Aligning it, the application with SCoTENS priorities is an obvious one, but making sure you're familiar with the funding criteria, and that obviously is going to enhance a successful outcome. Keeping the project realistic and focused. These projects are short term. Most of them run for 12 months, maybe slightly longer. So making sure that what you have planned is doable, it's achievable, and then ultimately it's going to be much more enjoyable. And so I think having a realistic time frame, a pragmatic time frame, is important. Demonstrating impact and dissemination. How will the project actually live beyond the funding period? Is it going to make a difference? Is this important to you in the work that you do? Is it important to you and your colleagues institutionally in the work that you do? And broader than that, systemically, perhaps even it's going to impact on policy and curriculum. Seeking ethical approval at the earliest opportunity. We find, you know, again, everybody knows their own institutions, how they work, how they operate. And sometimes, you know, there maybe the ethical approval team only meet, you know, twice a year or something like that. So making sure that you're fitting in with that time frame so that you're not held back. You can, you know, actually crack on with the research. So getting that done, getting that out of the way, making that an absolute priority, and showing value for money. The budgets are small scale, but without that small amount of money, these projects wouldn't happen. Our project certainly wouldn't have happened, and it wouldn't have happened in the way that it happened. So, you know, it's a small amount of money, but it can achieve great things in my estimation. And certainly for us and our project, it definitely did that. So I think that would be the key advice that we would share with you.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you for this beautiful professional friendship. Hopefully we'll meet next year for the next project. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to apply and to implement our project. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you.
Really lovely hearing from the two of you. We're actually going to go to another university now. We're heading to Stranmillis University College, and we have Dr. Glenda Walsh. So Glenda is going to talk on behalf of her team on their project called PERQ. It's perceptions of and practices towards achieving quality. And this time, rather than looking at ITE students, it's voices of early childhood teachers on the island of Ireland. Over to you now, Glenda.
Good evening, everyone. Absolutely delighted to have been invited this evening to come along and share with you our project that we have recently finished. And as you can see immediately, we were a large team. I was the PI, but I was very ably supported by Professor Noreen Hayes, Leo Toole, Andrea Doherty, Tracy McAleeren, Diane McClelland, Georgia Dowling, Catherine or Kitty O'Reilly, and Katie Tate. So now on to the team themselves. You'll immediately see from the names there that we were a large multidisciplinary team. Within our mix, there was some experienced researchers, right from Professor Noreen Hayes herself to less experienced and even early career researchers. And within the mix, we had a strong north-south collaboration. We had myself, Andrea, Diane and Katie Tate, all from Stranmillis in the north. Then we had Leah, Noreen, Leah, Tracy, Georgia and Kitty, all from the south. And within that, we had that multi-institutional partnership there as well. Stranmillis were leading in that respect, but as I said, very ably supported by Trinity College Dublin and Maynooth University also. So then, what was the actual focus of our project? Well, yes, a lot of work has been done on quality, but there's been very little work done on actually accessing the voices of early childhood educators themselves, who actually put the quality into practice, and even less done across the island of Ireland. So we were particularly interested to see that northern and southern perspective on that lived experience of quality. And you will see immediately, those of you who know Noreen and Leah well, we were guided by Brofenbrenner. Naturally, they are experts in that field. That bioecological perspective permeated the study as a whole. And the questions that guided the study were: how do educators understand quality? What practices actually support quality? What supports are available? And then what are those main barriers that interfere with educators putting high quality into practice in those early childhood settings? Now, what did we gain professionally? And we talked about professional friendships. I would nearly go as far as to say we gained personal friendships. Some of us had had the privilege of working with each other before, but we never worked as that big team together in that respect. And we very much found this a safe space. It was a want to go to space in that respect. So when we were putting the dates in the diary to meet up, everybody really tried to meet, and we didn't want to miss those opportunities to share about the project, but probably to share with each other, more importantly. And so the actual gains up and beyond those personal stroke professional friendships were those cross-border partnerships. And realistically, across the institutions themselves, Stranmillis, Maynooth, Trinity, all coming together and to work together academically on a project such as this. But more importantly, there was also that those relationships with the educators themselves. We held a community of practice webinar at the end to give those educators the opportunity to share with each other, both north and south, and that proved to be really advantageous, both from our perspective, but from their perspective also. And there was real opportunities then for professional development, where we were able to share the expertise across the team. I've mentioned already that Leah and Noreen brought that real expertise in the field of Brofenbrenner, but also we had more early career researchers such as Tracy McAleran, who brought with her, she was doing her doctorate that focused in on video stimulated reflective dialogues. And we were able to use those within our study likewise, which really proved extremely useful, particularly around that interplay between what the educators were sharing with us, but actually gaining an insight into their viewing their practice in that sense. So that shared expertise was very important. Andrea Doherty likewise then brought that quantitative perspective, which was particularly useful for the audit that we had across North, early childhood educators across North and South of Ireland. As I've said already, there was that blend of experienced and less experienced and even early career researchers within the team. And whilst it was obvious that the early career researchers could learn from us, but likewise we as experienced researchers really could learn from them likewise in the novel ideas they were bringing from their own doctoral study or whatever it might be. And then also within the team, we were lucky to have Georgia Dowling with us, who still is very much that researcher practitioner in that sense. So she still leads her own settings, and she was able to bring that real insight into practice-based and what early childhood educators were having to, in a sense, put up with day and daily. Then up and beyond the professional development, we also really gained opportunities for research development. Others have said already the opportunity to present conferences. We've done that already at a recent RCEN conference down in Maynooth. We've an abstract accepted for ESAI, and dear knows where we might go next. But we're focusing more on the actual publications themselves. And I always find that SCoTENS, is any project that I've done before in SCoTENS, has been really fruitful in that respect. Not only maybe chapters, but also those peer-reviewed journal articles. And so we've broken up as a large team into smaller teams with 3 articles ongoing at the minute. And we're making sure that where each and every one of those articles are concerned, everybody's names are on them. So it's a real shared learning opportunity for each and every one. And already then we've moved on to future projects together, where we're now moving on to a scoping review on quality for the Department of Children themselves. So we're working at that at present. And then what I would say we really gained professionally was that sort of enhanced understanding of quality in early childhood practice, really deepening our understanding of quality from that from educators' own lived experiences. And realistically, to me, that's what's most important, getting the opportunity to contribute to our overarching mission, where we're really, in a sense, from engaging in such research, actually improving opportunities and experiences, and indeed perhaps outcomes for the actual children themselves. That's what we're all about. We're here to improve quality for children, and in doing such a project such as this, we really felt that we had the opportunity to make a difference there. So then, in terms of advice for others, well, when I started off thinking about this, I thought, what on earth can I say here? And then you'll see I've 7 points, so I could quite some time. But I think the very first point and the most important point I would say is to choose something that you're genuinely interested in. SCoTENS affords you that opportunity to do something that you're actually interested in, not something to meet with a RFQ from a department or whatever it might be that you have to write a tender to meet with their interests and their needs. SCoTENS is completely open-ended. It just has to be educational in that sense. So choose something that you're genuinely interested in, and that will carry you through, and it'll want you to do more and to build on it. Then also design a methodology that's doable, that's feasible within a small funding envelope. We were a large team and we got a wee bit excited here. We started off with a rapid review, then with an audit of quality across North and South. And then we had that more in-depth focus on those video stimulated reflective dialogues. And yes, maybe took a slightly longer than we anticipated, but it really ended up as a very rich piece of work as a result. And I would really say that the video stimulated reflective dialogues were the real insight. If I were to do it again, I would very much focus attention there in that respect. So maybe something that I could learn from it was actually keeping the project as focused as possible and don't get carried away, and making sure you have clear timelines and regular meetings. And that didn't cause us a problem at all because we enjoyed meeting up, as I've said already. Then, yes, I was the PI for this project, but it was a distributed leadership model that we really used, playing to the strengths of the entire team. And that proved really beneficial because you do only have a small pot of money. So that only gives you a small amount of research assistance support in that respect. So it is good to have a large team that can support with the writing up of the report, etc., and also to put the data collection and the data analysis into practice. It has been said already, the importance of planning early for dissemination and impact, making sure that the project isn't just something, the report doesn't sit on the shelf and doesn't go any further. And we were ensuring that right from the outset by building in that opportunity for the community of practice webinar with the educators themselves. And involve the entire team also in terms of what comes next. And trying to move forward. We might not all go together, but at the same time, it's the opportunity to learn from a project like this and build on it in that sense. And something I've added in at the end, don't forget your participants. The participants are very important, and without them, the study wouldn't have happened in that sense. They give up an awful lot of their time, particularly for this project in terms of capturing snapshots of video to share with us, etc. And so they deserve that meaningful recognition and also that meaningful feedback likewise. So just a few thoughts from us. We thoroughly enjoyed doing the project. We hope you enjoy reading it, and we look forward to what comes next. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thanks very much, Glenda. Now we're going to go down south now. We're heading to Dublin City University, and it is Dr. Anne Rowan. And Anne is going to present on behalf of her team on their project, SCoTENS. So supporting English as an additional language pupils with special educational needs across the island of Ireland. Over to you, Anne.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, and just thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm really honoured to be able to speak. So our project, as everyone has said, was called SCoTENS, and the project team, as you see on the screen here, looking very glamorous, was myself, Anne Rowan, and Dr. Nicola Marlowe from Ulster University. We were also supported by my esteemed colleagues, Professor Joe O'Hara and Professor Martin Brown from DCU as well. So we really came together, and I wanted to really stress this idea of both professional friendships, but also personal friendships that Glenda has mentioned as well. Nicola and I worked so closely together. We realized we have a lot more in common than just our academic life, as we've continued to have those conversations and share experiences since the project. So it was really vitally important to us that this did bring together a really strong friendship. So our project itself was very much focused on supporting English additional language pupils who had an identified special educational need or additional educational need, differing terms both the North and the South. So both Nicola and I were teachers, both English teachers, but we were also SENCOs in the north of Ireland. So we had those interests even from the start, and both of our work, particularly my PhD research and then subsequent research from that, and Nicola's own work with PGCE programs in Ulster, we realised that there was a sort of dearth of literature within EL pupils and SEN, and really not a lot of knowledge on how to bridge the gap between that and marry the two areas together. So we realised that from personal conversations and professional conversations with teachers, our own background, our own research, that there is a double layer of challenge in schools, and often the coming together of these two terms is very limited. The training as well, we did a lot of sort of background research into the training needs of teachers and what was out there to address those concerns, and that was also very limited. And then also between North and South, that cross-border gap in knowledge and the differences in processes, procedures, language, terminologies, school types, even down to the difference between SEN and AN, and how those really hadn't been explored in depth either. And that kind of urgent need to have evidence-based practice and resources. So we felt that SCoTENS really met those objectives and will fill that gap in knowledge. So our research was a survey and then focus groups and interviews, both with teachers, with SENCOs, with principals, really to find out what the challenges were, really good practice that was happening, as our key focus was to find innovation in practice and to showcase that both North and South. In terms of resources, they were all co-designed. So we have a toolkit which we created alongside teachers, and those who participated in the study. And that was really to go towards co-designing assessment materials or guidance, both in ITE and CPD programs and for use in schools. We then did a lot of work on relationship building. So that was one of our key objectives, was to bring together practitioners in this area and teachers in this area. So we created a LinkedIn network as well. We had a conference which Lorraine kindly came to speak at as well, and teachers attended, we had parents there as well. We had principals coming along, and they actually participated in the conference and gave their experiences of what the research was like and the toolkit and so on. And then the reach as well. So sharing those findings, both as lots of other people have mentioned, journal publications, but we've also been accepted for a book from the Nord University in Norway. It's a book publication. We have a LinkedIn network, we have the toolkit, and then we have ongoing conversations with schools. So the reach was quite substantial with this project as well. So just wanted to add in some images of our conference and Nicola and I speaking at that, and then the toolkit as well, which is currently in development with the teachers who participated in this study as well. So what did we gain? So again, echoing what others have said, really that new research expertise. So we learned a lot around sort of understanding this area, good practice and innovation in this area, both in North and South, and just genuine cross-disciplinary knowledge and developing on that. Cross-border collaboration. Nicola and I continue to work together. We have lots of conversations on a daily basis, and just really having that identity and building up that reputation and trust with each other as well was really important. And just making sure that we continued those conversations, as others have said. Our toolkit and the findings have also been embedded into ITE programs at Dublin City University and University College Dublin as well, and have been used within those institutions and Ulster. So it's actually making an impact on courses already, which is really, really amazing to hear. And it's actually been used in schools as well. And we've heard a lot of feedback from our participants and our teachers that the toolkit is really, really useful and that they want to build on that as well. So it's an ongoing conversation. And then just funding bids. So not only for the seed funding, but again, the publications that we have. Nicola and I actually were awarded BERA funding as a result of this project to look at the same topic in primary schools in the north and south of Ireland. So we're really delighted with that. We have applied for funding from the British Academy to build this into a wider scale. And we're also putting in an Erasmus application next year. Now the UK is back in. So we're building on this every year, and we're intending to take that forward. So it's really given us a lot of confidence to do that. And I think that was really vital in terms of the seed funding. It does what it says on the tin. It is a seed and it does grow. And SEALSEN is a perfect example of that. And finally, advice for anyone thinking of applying. So start with a genuine problem, do a little bit of homework in terms of the gaps and maybe teacher education, similar to what we did. You make it authentic, make it real, address the needs of educators or the different sectors, and make it a genuine piece of work. Building your partnership is so important. Nicola and I have similar backgrounds. We have the same goals and aims and ambitions. And that really makes for that strong relationship, but also a really credible proposal. And we worked really hard on that. And hopefully it came through that there was that partnership approach. Keep it achievable. As many have said, it's not a huge pot of money, but it's a vital and valuable piece of money. And it is a seed, and it will contribute to your bigger ambitions that you may have. So keep it achievable, but also have in the back of your mind, where can this go? Sort of echoing what Glenda said as well about impact and dissemination, we had a very clear idea what we wanted to do in terms of dissemination from the very beginning of our project. And that is ongoing. So building that in is really important. That shouldn't just be an afterthought. It has to keep going. And finally, just apply. There is no harm in putting in an application. And if it's not successful, even if the writing skills and it sharpens your thinking, it sharpens your idea, that if there is something you want to really hone in on and focus on, it helps you to do that as well. So my advice is just do it, and you will not regret it. And again, thank you on behalf of Nicola has sent me a message, as has Joe and Martin, just to say thank you very much again, and for having me here tonight to speak on behalf of them. And we're just really genuinely grateful for this opportunity. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thanks very much, Anne. So our next two are who are going to present the project. This time we have one from the north and one from the south. So we have Dr. Elaine Mooney, and Elaine is from St. Angela's College, and we have Mairead Davidson, who is from Ulster University, and the two of them are going to speak on behalf of their colleagues on their project EAT. HE, with a pun there on EAT. It's Home Economics, Teachers' Perspectives and Experiences of Strengthening the Divide Between Nutrition Theory and Practical Culinary Skills to ensure best practice in teaching practical food lessons at junior cycle and key stage 4. So this is particularly novel. I don't think we've had one like a project like this before. So over to you, Elaine and Mairead.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. It's great to get the invitation to speak here on behalf of the team. And I really liked Julie's definition of professional friendships. And when she was giving out the different characteristics, I thought there's one thing missing there, which I'm sure all of you had, but we definitely had it, and that was a shared passion. All of us were home economists. All of us are involved in initial teacher education for home economics teachers. And I think that really drove the project because we had that shared common belief in the importance of what we were doing. So the research team, myself, Dr. Eileen Kelly-Blakeney, who's also on the call tonight, and Dr. Amanda McCloat, we're all from the National Centre of Excellence for Home Economics in ATU St. Angela's. And then our good friend and colleague and professional friend, Mairead Davis, who's in the School of Education at Ulster University. So that was us. And an overview, I suppose, of the project is that home economics is actually available as a subject in post-primary schools in both the north and in the south. So what we decided to do was provide a forum for the home economics teachers to share their, I suppose, lived experiences of conducting food practical lessons. And we wanted to specifically, I suppose, hone in on the challenge of combining the nutrition theory and the culinary skills in a meaningful way. So we wanted to give the home economics teachers an opportunity to debate issues surrounding best practice when they're facilitating their home economics classes, and also for them to share best pedagogical practices. So that could inform our teaching then in the university setting. So we had a very practical, I suppose, aim for the project. And it's small money, but it's very important money. So because it got the conversation going and the collaboration working. So I suppose we had a mixed method study, and we employed the use of 2 focus groups, which were online, and 1 focus group, which was in person in the gin distillery in Drumshanbo. Now, beat that. Now, I would like to clarify, no gin was consumed. We didn't even get to do the tour, but we did meet, and over very good food, we brought our best resources and discussed all of the challenges facing teaching on the ground in a food practical lesson in a post-primary school. We had an online survey. We had a workshop then, a CPD full days workshop where 22 teachers, 11 from the north, 11 from the south, worked in pairs together in actually teaching a lesson. So we had practical skills. We ran it in the food labs in St. Angela's. So we were ensuring that we had both subjective experiences and measurable trends then, so that we were able to triangulate all of the data. I suppose professionally from engaging with the seeds funding, we learned that, faraway hills aren't always greener. The teachers really experienced very, very similar challenges, regardless of their actual location. Unfortunately, we could see that there is a decline in learning life skills in the home, particularly food skills. So practical culinary skills, which used to be taught in the home, aren't now being taught as commonly. And also one thing that was, I suppose, evident on both sides of the border was the issue of food poverty. Which means to us that the remit of home economics, which seeks to apply learning to issues experienced in everyday life, I suppose has never been more crucial for families across the island. So the importance of the subject is really important to be recognised. And there was a clear interest and an appetite for further collaboration. We worked really well together. The home economics teachers really enjoyed it. It was the first time through the 3 focus groups and through the CPD day that any of the home economics teachers from the north or the south had ever discussed the different curricula with one another before. So we really engaged in novel discussions, had all Ireland dialogue and exchange, which was brilliant to see. Mairead, do you want to come in there?
Yes, thank you, Elaine. So professionally, we also then had the opportunity to present our initial findings at the World IFHE conference, which took place back in June 2025, and that was actually held in St Angela's in Sligo, which was a great event and a great opportunity really to present our initial findings at that early stage. At present, we are currently writing a paper which we'd hope for publication in the Irish Journal of Education. And also for myself professionally from this study, I really valued the opportunity as an early career researcher to really collaborate with the colleagues in St Angela's, and I really learned a lot from their experiences across the project. And really some advice for those considering an application, and some of those points are building on what has been previously said tonight. So again, it's really important to start to consider what is novel about your project, what do you hope to find out, what is new, and really starting off with that clear focus of the project. And as others have previously mentioned, time, it's a short time frame, it's about 12 months. So you have to think of what type of data do I want to collect? How can I collect that data and make sure that the data we collect is meaningful? And again, ethics, and again, this is something that we really learned from the experience, and the importance of applying for ethics early, checking what the ethics situation is in terms of both universities, and if there's a need for that joint ethics application. With our project, we, as Elaine has mentioned, we really wanted to get teachers involved, but at an early stage, we really recognized that it was difficult for teachers to get released from schools. And as we found at the study, we had a few weather events that impacted some of our early events, and they had to be cancelled a few times, but we finally got there in the end. So if you want teachers to be involved or host an event with teachers, that's something I really think you should consider about in terms of their availability to be involved in the project. And that really leads on to the final point. If you do want to host an event, all of the logistics that needs to be considered. So we were working between Ulster University in Coleraine and then obviously St Angela's in Sligo. So we were trying to find buses, venues, food, cost, and really making sure that the event was value for money. As I say, it is a small pot, but it's a really valuable pot. And within that, you're not going to be able to do everything that you set out to do at the start of the project. So you really have to think about what is most important in the project to make sure that you achieve your overall aims of the project. So again, I really want to thank you for inviting us here tonight, and it has been a really valuable and worthwhile experience. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Elaine and Mairead. And after all that, I feel it's a bit like the Oscars. We're kind of building up to the launch of the John Coonahan Award. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's we look at across all the reports that have been submitted over the course of the year, and you've got a taste of 4 wonderful reports tonight. And the report that is actually selected to win the award is the one that is recognised as being most in line with the values and ideals of SCoTENS. So to present the award tonight, we have got Professor Noel Purdy, OBE. Noel is the Director of Research and Scholarship at Stranmillis University College, Belfast, and he will announce the award of the John Coonahan Award to the successful seed-funded project for 2026. Over to you, Noel. Wonderful job.
Thanks very much, Lorraine. Good evening, everybody. I feel like there should be a drum roll really at this point in the proceedings, but unfortunately, well, actually my son is playing the drums literally through the wall, so you might well hear a drum roll, but it's not part of the official proceedings. So it's my great pleasure on behalf of SCoTENS and the committee to present this John Coonahan Award for 2026. Named, of course, in honour of one of the legendary co-founders of SCoTENS, Professor John Coonahan, who many of us will have known well. This award recognises not only high quality research, but work that embodies the spirit of SCoTENS that Lorraine mentioned there, that collaboration, partnership and meaningful impact across the island of Ireland. This year's shortlisted projects were all of a very high standard. We've just heard 4 brilliant presentations, and we've heard about the reports, the toolkits, the journal articles, the conference presentations, the impact across different HEIs, and of course those professional friendships. And all of that is based on a very small amount of money. We do appreciate that. It's £5,000 or £6,000. It is seed funding, but as Anne said, seeds grow and bear fruit. However, one of these projects did stand out for its exceptional combination of methodological rigor, practical relevance, and genuinely collaborative cross-border engagement. So it just edged it over the others. We would love to have been able to award several winners, but we chose one in the end. And that winning project is the EAT HE. That's Home Economics Teachers' Perspectives and Experiences of Strengthening the Divide Between Nutrition Theory and Practical Culinary Skills to Ensure Best Practice in Teaching Practical Food Lessons at Junior Cycle and Key Stage 4. And that project, of course, we've just heard from Elaine and Maria, but there was also Dr. Eileen Kelly Blakeney and Dr. Amanda McClout and the team then from ATU St Angela's and also Ulster University. And could I just make clear that they didn't win on account of having the longest title for a project in SCoTENS history. I don't think that was one of the criteria, nor did we receive any gin from that distillery that Elaine mentioned, unfortunately, either. But as we did hear from Elaine and Maria, this is a substantial and a thoughtfully designed All-Ireland study addressing an area that is surprisingly under-researched. I can't remember the last time I read a research report funded by SCoTENS on home economics. The lived experience of home economics teachers as they seek to integrate nutrition theory with practical culinary skills. So we heard about that robust mixed methods design, the survey, the focus groups, the cross-border professional development workshop. And that approach gives real depth and credibility to the findings, capturing not just data, but the professional realities, challenges, and insights of teachers working in both jurisdictions. Importantly, the project engages directly with curriculum and pedagogy, north and south, comparing the junior cycle and Key Stage 4 in a way that was both useful and carefully done. But what makes this project particularly distinctive is the authentic embodiment of the SCoTENS mission, that spirit of SCoTENS that we talk about. It's not just collaboration in name, the partnership is woven throughout in the research team and crucially among the teachers that were involved. Many of those teachers hadn't previously engaged with colleagues from the other jurisdiction. It's wonderful that this provides the opportunity for that through this project and that hands-on cross-border workshop. They were brought together to share practice, to exchange ideas and to learn from each other, and that's very valuable and we appreciated that. The research also speaks powerfully to contemporary educational and societal issues and was unique in that respect. It highlights the challenges that teachers face in balancing theory, skill development, assessment, and time constraints. It draws attention to structural issues like resource disparities and to those wider social justice concerns around food poverty in classrooms and, of course, the declining life skills among many children and young people today. So this was research that we felt really mattered. It mattered to the teacher educators, it mattered to teachers, to learners, and it matters to society more broadly as well. And just like the other projects, it looks forward. It has built professional capacity, it has created new connections, it's generated a clear appetite, no pun intended, for sustained all-island collaboration. And that legacy of partnership is very much, again, in keeping with the purpose of this award. So for its high quality research, its practical and policy relevance, and its genuine commitment to cross-border collaboration, and here is the report itself, although it's a black and white copy. I'm sorry, I should have printed it in colour. I'm delighted to say that the SCoTENS John Coollahan Award 2026 goes to the EAT HE team. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Elaine Mooney, Maria Davidson, Dr. Eileen Kelly Blakeney, and Dr. Amanda McClout on behalf of SCoTENS. And before you applaud, I will just show you the certificate, which will be winging its way electronically, I hope, very soon to Elaine and Maria and the others in the team. But many congratulations from the SCoTENS committee. And I think we can at least, even if muted, give a round of applause to Elaine and Mairead. And hopefully either Elaine or Mairead or both might want to say just a few words in response. So thank you very much and congratulations from all of us.
Thank you so much. We are absolutely thrilled. Thank you to the SCoTENS committee for selecting our research project for the John Coolhan Award. Amanda, Eileen and I had the privilege of meeting Professor Coolhan back in 2012. He gave a lecture in St. Angela's on when we were celebrating 60 years of St. Angela's College involvement in teacher education. But one thing I suppose that would have struck us was he believed in the power of education to shape lives and to strengthen communities. So it's extra sweet for us four home economists who believe that home economics education can strengthen lives and strengthen communities and shape lives. So we're delighted. We're really honoured, and on behalf of the team at ATU St. Angela's and UU, thank you so much.
You and well done again. And I'll hand back to Lorraine at this point.
Okay, so I suppose what we're thinking is at this stage, you'll want to know, how do we get our hands on that money? As you know, it's a small amount of money, just like 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, but it's really the potential of that, and I suppose like the wonderful collaborations. And yes, it may be hard work, but actually, in some ways, when you see it tonight, it is so fruitful and rewarding, to be involved in that. So with us tonight, we have Dr. Gabriel Niguer and Dr. Maria Campbell, and the two of them will kind of talk you through a bit about that seed funding process. I think it's, I suppose, the one thing that we all dread. So they're going to demystify us, kind of give you a sense of that application process, and then we're going to stay around for a little while afterwards to answer any questions that you may have. So over to Gabriel and Maria.
Thank you very much. So thank you, Lorraine, and congratulations to Mairead and Elaine, to your team. And our thanks to all of the project leaders who have already so generously shared really insightful observations. And I think that all of the key messages have already been repeated again and again by our very enthusiastic team leaders there. So you've already picked up a lot of valuable information that will be very helpful to you with your applications. So our job here is to really just bring that over the line and really encourage you with enthusiasm to have a go at this, particularly if you haven't made an application before. And if you have made an application before, well, you're already, well informed, and you will have picked up on what an enjoyable process this is. I think that's one thing that came across well from all of the speakers was how much they enjoyed building relationships, learning more themselves, and engaging with the whole process. Myself, Gabriel Niguer from St. Mary's, and my colleague, Maria Campbell. Maria, I don't think you're muted there. You can introduce yourself.
Dr. Maria Campbell from ATU St. Angela's.
And Maria and I then will lead this question and answer session. So please, during the session, do enter any of your questions into the chat, and we will keep an eye on that. Maria is much more astute than I am and will be able to keep a closer eye than what I would normally do at the chat, and we'll address any questions that arise. But firstly, let us just summarize some of the advantages to applying, because any application process takes a little bit of thought, takes a little bit of preparation, and you want to be convinced that this is really worth it. And believe me, as from the perspective of someone who has made applications to SCoTENS, as well as been involved in the process from, you know, at different points, even as an assessor. It really, really is worth it. So we have jotted down here some notes of advantages that are repeated by participants constantly. So you're joining a highly regarded, a very welcoming, efficient, supportive network. So when you participate in the SCoTENS seed funding project, you are, you know, engaging with a community that is highly regarded in the educational world, throughout the island of Ireland, of course, but on an international level. We have a lot of international partners, and through all of our activities and various partnerships, I think you probably already realize that it's a very highly regarded institution for very good reasons, and you'll be welcomed, you know, as part of that community. The emphasis has been very clear from our participants tonight on the importance of relationships. So partnerships, collaborations, we've had beautiful language. In fact, the word beautiful was used by one of our leaders there, talking about the beautiful professional friendship that was developed there. I'm getting interrupted here. Yeah. Okay, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Right. So I have to leave my office at 8:30. So that is central. It is one of our underpinning principles, and really it's the bond, it's the glue, it's what keeps us involved in SCoTENS year after year after year. It is just such a wonderful organization to be part of. It's a real honor to be involved in it. But the relationships that you build are very meaningful, very, very genuine, and very helpful to you professionally, as well as lovely in a personal way. So the opportunity to build on the seed-funded project, of course, it leads to a SCoTENS publication on our own website, and often to other peer-reviewed publications. We've also had some of our speakers tonight refer to other funded opportunities that arose because of this. And I've had that experience myself, you know, having engaged in a SCoTENS project, then being able to make another application at a different stage of development, and the project can evolve. So the seed funding really can be very, very effective in that way. The opportunity to research a topic of interest to you, and I think that Glenda explained that, referred to that very in a very meaningful way whenever she talked about those opportunities that aren't always there. It's not always the first motivation is what interests you, but here you have the opportunity to decide what's driving you, what's that passionate subject that you really believe in. So your challenge is to show evidence of how that is important to the panel. So, but you will find that you will be working within a positive and supportive framework. So lots of diversity in the themes that we listened to tonight, lots of diversity among the participants. You saw that even in the 4 teams that were represented tonight, that there were teams that had a small number of participants, teams with a very large team. There were new researchers, more experienced researchers. SCoTENS does actually refer to the fact that we particularly welcome applications from people who have not previously made an application or done so in the last 5 years. But diversity in other ways too, of course, you know, throughout the island, north and south, multidisciplinary, and that will enrich and enhance the whole experience for the participants. So we saw the principles of SCoTENS, I think, being lived out during the projects themselves. Some of our participants tonight were talking about the respect that they have for one another. They referred to the different gifts and strengths and contributions made by every single member of their team, whether that was a new researcher or a more experienced person. And that kind of respect is something that SCoTENS holds dear. So the key points, therefore, for you to consider, just to summarize, prior to making that submission, think about your project. You've had lots of advice about that. From consider a project that you really believe in, a topic that's of interest, one that is useful. You've had advice to consider a project where there is a gap, where there is a problem, a gap in knowledge, you know, where you can justify that we really need to further investigate this area. So you want to consider a topic that is useful to the educational community, that will have impact, and that is relevant, and of course that is committed to the SCoTENS principles. And that really will embrace the broader peace dynamic. Consider when working on your team and the partners that you would like to work with, do consult the SCoTENS website, you know, and you will find there lists of other participants who are looking to engage, to extend their teams and are looking for other partners, or who are looking for projects, or who are sharing what projects they are suggesting. So you will get possibilities there that may be of interest to you. So the other useful points. Oh, sorry, I'm racing ahead of myself there. A few other points there just about the SCoTENS guide for application. Please do consult that. You will find that on the website as well. And you've already been advised by some of our leaders tonight. Several have warned you about time. Just, you know, we have now until the 27th of April, but you know, do allow for the time it takes within your own institution to get approval from your head of department or from the head of the institution, and to give due consideration to ethical issues. And so that all takes a bit of time, so bear that in mind. You'll find the application form itself is very helpful. It's really well laid out and will give you a good structure for planning your project, and for planning the submission. Just do that double check on the five criteria, that you have a good research design, that the impact is articulated in what way you envisage the impact to be seen, the potential for capacity building, whether that's through the participants' activities or the researchers' learning. Tonight we've heard a lot about that shared learning among the researchers and their own professional development, and the possibilities for mutual shared understanding, and of course value for money. Again, there's been a lot of reference to the fact that the sum of money is fairly limited, but actually really useful. You can achieve so much with it. But it is important that is spent wisely. So you want to give thought to how you do that. And you'll get some advice on the website about in what ways that can be used or should not be used. So finally, just bear in mind that deadline, 4 o'clock, Monday, 27th of April. You've plenty of time, but just, get to it. SCoTENS is there, the committee is there, the team is there, ready to help if you have need for any further advice or any further clarification. And just finally, yes, please do have a go. We're looking forward to seeing your applications. Do we have any questions, Maria?
No, I'm looking in here, none at the moment.
Yeah.
I've nothing really to add. I think everything has been said. Thanks, Gabrielle, and to all the other participants for this evening. One question that comes up from time to time, it wasn't in the chat tonight, is how do I find a partner? We've come across cases where somebody has a great idea, either in the north or south, and you want to link up with somebody in the other jurisdiction. The facility is on the SCoTENS website. It's a bit like speed dating, shall we say. There's an option there where you can put in what your interests are and you try and find somebody to match it. But what I would say is you have more than likely somebody in your own institution who will have contacts across the border, shall we say. Or if not, go onto the SCoTENS website and you'll see the committee members there. And don't be afraid to approach one of us and say, I have a really strong interest in X area. How would I find somebody in the other jurisdiction who may have? So use all the contacts you have. But like everybody said, strongly encourage you to really consider applying for the seed funding. I've nothing else to add. I don't know about you, Gabrielle.
No, I think that our leaders, our project leaders, did a great job in sharing all the advice. So,
apologies, I've one here. Sorry, my institution is not a member of SCoTENS. How can we join? So just send an email to if you see on the website, our administrator, our wonderful administrator, Tricia, and she'll give you all the details there about how your institution can or your organisation can join. And the second one said, yes, keen to get involved other than the conferences. Are there any other opportunities to network? Yes, we have. I'm trying to think of all the different. We have a student-teacher exchange north-south. We have a number of other initiatives going. PhD at the doctoral school, but again, your institution would have to be a member or that. So what I'd say, Lisa, make contact with us. Send an email to SCoTENS, and somebody will get back to you on any of those. And thank you both very much for those questions. Sorry, Gabrielle, I just spotted them there.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you, Maria, and thanks with your help with all of the preparation of the slides and everything. So back to Lorraine.
Yeah, so I suppose we will draw the night to a close. So I'm going to hand over to our SCoTENS Northern co-chair this time, and it is Dr. Pamela Cowan, who is a senior lecturer in education in the School of Social Sciences, Education and Social Work, Queen's University, Belfast. Over to you, Pamela.
Thank you very much, Lorraine, and thank you to Gabrielle and Maria for the excellent advice and guidance that you've provided to support the applicants for their seed funding tonight. Projects may also relate to the Transform Ed agenda in Northern Ireland, but we just want to highlight that the funding is not limited to this, as you will have seen tonight. So all ideas are welcomed and considered equally for the funding. We've reached the final part of this evening now, so I'd just like to say a huge thank you to our speakers for sharing their experiences and motivating attendees to apply for seed funding. Thank you to the judging panel for reading all the reports submitted for the John Coollahan Award, and congratulations again to our two worthy winners, Elaine and Maria and their teams, for your timely report and your innovative research. A big thank you as well to my fellow SCoTENS committee members, Julie, Lorraine, Noel, Gabrielle and Maria for hosting tonight, and to the committee members working behind the scenes too on all the various aspects that SCoTENS is involved in. A huge thank you as well to Patricia and Anthony for promoting and organising the event. And last but not least, a thank you to everyone for attending tonight. I do hope you feel inspired to submit a bid for SCoTENS funding, and remember our Find a Partner section that Maria mentioned that's on the website if you're looking for a new contact either north or south, or indeed email us if you haven't got a response from that. So thank you to everyone for your time and participation this evening. Have a great night and happy Easter, everyone. Thank you.